Grandmama used to pray, oh Lord, please save them from the evil snares and all the dangers that entangle. Yea, though they walking through the valley of the shadows, just prepare and make them fit for every battle, because I know they bound to come, and I know they bound to fall, but in your bounty, Lord, preserve their beautiful. Right, we still surviving off of grandma's prayers, surrounded by the jungle and the lion's den. Tread light, cause these traps is inconspicuous. They hide right in plain sight, thinking we don't see them when they linger. Look right beneath the surface, then leave a trail of corpses. Crisis, prices, your life a disposable commodity, like living in a fantasy, conditioned to believe that the system even cares whether selling CDs or walking or driving or reading. Look, they don't even need a reason, it's just you breathing and being black. When it's such a pretty fall, it don't seem like we falling at all, at all. It's just a GMO dream, where things are never really what they seem. Please cue the violins, tell them just to play me something pretty, cause this gritty city got me screaming bloody murder. Said it got me screaming. This gritty city got me on some. Look, get your hand up on my pocket. Distraction, so lazy they use the same tactics. Like condom with some trinkets, just don't let them get to thinking. That light bulb gets to blinking. You know niggas and ideas. Oh dear, my dear, you may not know me, but I know you very well. Foresight, they say hindsight is 2020. Well, tell me something, we gotta see that history is on repeat, and maybe it takes a beat and a melody to speak a little louder than the message in the clouds or the essence in the air. I swear, my God is just so clear that a system driven by fear can never give us nothing but more of the same things. Oh, when it's such a pretty fall, it don't seem like we falling at all. It's just a GMO dream, where things are never really what they seem. Please cue the violins, tell them just to play me something pretty, cause this gritty city got me screaming. It's murder. Got me screaming, got me. This gritty city got me on some.
What's happening, good people? We are in the building. Yes. Powerful day, powerful occasion. Shout out to our sister Sunny Patterson. That was her on the intro. And she wanted to definitely send her love to our guest of honor here tonight. You know, but definitely you all come on in and share this. Let folks know that we are live. This is RSTV. We're on Black Power Media. You know what it is. You know what we do around here around this time. Man, it is a powerful day. First, we want to salute the shining Black Prince, El Hajj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X on his born date. You know, one of the brothers who are responsible for so many of us that appear on this screen here tonight, responsible for a lot of our activity and action. So definitely we want to salute Malcolm X on his born date. Also, we want to salute Ho Chi Minh, the freedom fighter, along with Yuri Kochiyama, Virginia Davis, mother of Troy Anthony Davis. And one of the main reasons we're here tonight, this is also the birth of cultural icons, the last poets who got their start on a Malcolm X stage 55 years ago today. We're gonna have a real good time tonight, you know, and I'm absolutely, man, incredibly honored to be on here tonight with you know, our guests. The last poets have man, they've inspired so many of us for generations. For generations. I'm talking about, I can officially say that my grandson listens to the last poets. So that just tells you that the impact, 55 years, I mean, they stepped on the scene a couple years before I was born, you know, and here it is, my grandson is listening to words that they were dropping when when I was younger than him. Anyway, without further ado, we wanted to get you all inspired. We want to get you ready to share this monumental occasion. And we're going to start off by introducing you to a couple of the last poets, one being our brother, Baba Abi Odun. Oh, yeah, Wule. How you
Yeah,
doing, Baba?
I'm good. I'm good. And I was so proud to hear Sonny Patterson because I think she is one of the greatest sister poets we've got out here. And we've worked together. I love her husband, and her children. I mean, she's a sister, and she has got the power in her words that is out. It's exceptional. So it was very good to hear you opening up, and I love the footage that went along with what she was saying. It was fabulous. Um, this is a very important day, but there's one thing that you didn't mention, maybe you don't know, but we lost a fearless brother today. Also, even though the day is the birthday of Malcolm's birthday, we lost Jim Brown today. The great
Did we?
football,
I didn't even know that.
yeah, Jim Brown, the greatest football player of all time. There will probably never be another Jim Brown. Jim Brown
Um,
was without question the greatest football player to play this American sport that people love so much, which is a violent sport. Jim Brown was he was without question the greatest football player of all time. Matter of fact, any sport that Jim Brown participated in, he was great at. He started
yeah.
out being a lacrosse champion. I don't know any brothers who even think about playing lacrosse. He was a champion at that. Jim Brown played basketball, averaged 35 points a game. Jim
Mm,
Brown, any game, he was one of those brothers that just had the ability to do whatever. So I want to be respected because when I was a kid, I looked up to him as one of my idols because I played football. And everybody that played football that was a running back thought they had a little Jim Brown in them. But Jim Brown, when the guys would try to tackle Jim Brown, and David can tell you, he would drag people. They couldn't tackle him. He dragged people 2 and 3 yards, 4 and 5 yards. I mean, he got punched in the nose by the giant somebody. This guy named Robostelli and a guy named Sam Huff for the New York Giants. The coach said, "Jim, you can sit the next seat, the next play out." He said, "No, put me right back in." He put him right back in. He ran 80 yards on the Giants just to let him know you can break my nose and make it bleed, but you can't stop me. And Jim Brown was. If we ever see pictures
Brown
of
was
Ali, huh? When Ali refused to go into the
no, I just
service,
said
who was standing behind
Jim Brown
Ali?
was with him.
Jim Brown,
right.
Bill Russell,
Yeah.
supporting Ali's not going to fight in Vietnam. So I want to give respect to him as well. It's a
Hey,
very, like you said in the beginning, it's a very powerful day.
yeah.
For, for me and David to be here on the screen 55 years later is very special because it was David and myself that got the last post started. It's really, the idea came out of David's head. I was
Mm,
a kid working in his program. He was the director of an anti-poverty program called Double Block Recreational and Educational Program. And I was working there, making a little chump change, trying to, get ready to go to college. And David and I was messing with poetry. David was writing poetry because my poetry thing kind of kicked up a bit after they killed Dr. King. I really wanted to do something. I had to do something because that was a horrible situation. And David said, "You know what? Because black people are so disunited, maybe we got a group of poets together from different walks of life and made a group. Maybe they'd see just that'd be a good example for black folks to see how important it is for us to work together." The idea was sound because poets, generally speaking, are soloists. They ride solo. They can talk to trees and flowers and plants. A lot of times poets don't even deal with other people too much. The fact is that to put 3 men from 3 different walks of life together on a stage and say they're representing a race of people, that was a far stretch. That hadn't been done before. And I always give credit at every single show. I give credit to David for being the father of the group. And I'm happy that he's here because he is. And just like members of the Watch Prophets have lost some members, have moved on to the second dimension, we have lost some too. We've lost, but there's still some of us are still here. Matter of fact, the majority of us are still alive, and I'm grateful for that. I got up this morning knowing the value of today. And I wrote a piece that I'd like to share just so that our listening audience that is not familiar with the last poets will get an understanding. And I did send a copy to David and Felipe Luciano. And I would like to share this with you all now. Kalonji.
Hey, please, we'll be absolutely honored. And thank you for pointing out that Jim Brown transitioned. I did not know that. I had the opportunity to be on a gang summit with him, a street organization summit, maybe about 10, 12 years ago. So, I'm definitely, he was a powerful brother, and I appreciate you acknowledging him and hearing it from you first. But please go ahead and drop. I know we got some other folks in the background that came to see you. One of my favorite singers, I see her in the background from the Soul Train days. So I see her, and I see some other brothers in the back. So we're gonna have a good time tonight. So let's bring it to us, brother.
55 years today. 55 years ago, on Malcolm X's birthday, the last poets were born. A trio of poets who used poetry as a tool to tear down a slum life, to build a better life for Black people. Three men in Harlem came together on this day using poetic verse that was bold like a punch in your face, that was funky like how we dance, that was fiery like how we preach, to inspire and motivate Black people to embrace the beauty of themselves and leave the ugly behind, to shed the rags of a nigger and to wear the majestic robes of our African ancestors in our hearts, in our minds, on our bodies. 55 years ago today, a trio of Black men made poetry a rallying cry for Black folks to come together, support each other, love each other, and have faith in each other. The last poets became members of the vanguard, word warriors like Amiri Baraka, Askia Mohammed Touré, and Sonia Sanchez, who laid the foundation for the last poets to stand on. 55 years of performances, albums, and activities inspired the birth of hip hop, and millions of poets around the world to use poetry for self-expression, to inform, and bring about change for all of humanity. I am proud to be a part of this legacy, along with David Nelson, Garland Kane, Felipe Luciano, Nilaja Obabi, Umar bin Hassan, Jalal Mansur Nuruddin, Suleiman El Hadi, and Don Babatunde Eaton. A new generation of last poets are being born to be a part of this legacy. I hope and pray that they will last for another 55 years.
Amen. That right there was was fire. And I gotta say that I'm over here like a fan right now. I want to jump up and bug out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because I got some of my favorite people in the building today. And I'm just like, we're absolutely grateful. I know David got knocked off. We're gonna see if we can get him back on. Baba David, he may still be frozen a little bit, but we're gonna bring him back on. But while we waiting for Baba David, we need some feminine energy, right? So I mentioned to the folks that one of my favorite singers was on here, and I don't really believe that's her. I got to make sure, we got to double take. For those of y'all that know soul music, for those of y'all that know Gamble and Huff and Motown and all that good stuff, this particular young sister right here has been doing her thing. She's a classic, and we're honored to have on tonight. And I just wanted to start off by saying, don't let it go to your head now. Anyway, I ain't doing no justice. Jean Carr is in the building. How you doing, Mama Jean?
I'm wonderful.
Jane,
Congratulations.
it's good to see you, Jane.
55 is a magical number.
Well, I'm so happy. Y'all don't have no idea. Jean is one of our super divas. I mean, this sister, oh my God. If those in the listening audience, if you have not heard Gene sing Infinize, you have not heard the Lord's Prayer, because that's basically all it is. It's a prayer. And I mean that song, it takes you places. I don't care if you got kids or not. That song will take you to places that your heart needs to be at. Thank you so much. And I did not know until my niece told me that you wrote the words to Naima.
Doug Carn and I, yes.
Golly. I mean, because I have a niece named Naima, and I've sung that song to her many times, and I knew that that was John Coltrane's first love, but I knew that he did not write that. But the song is outrageous. Leon Thomas and I used to mess with her all the time because Leon, remember Leon?
Oh, absolutely. Creator has a master plan. I bet.
But Gene, it's so good to see you, honey. It's good to see that you're still here and you're vibing. I'm just so proud of the work that you've done. And I heard that Doug was on the scene. He's here in New York City.
He's in Florida, but
okay.
he in fact he'll be at Dizzy's Coca-Cola at Lincoln Center.
Okay.
When is it? Maybe I don't know. I think maybe August.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, do your thing, Gene. I just want to acknowledge your presence and thank you again for all the joy and love you've given to me.
Well, I wanted to thank you and your co-poets, your co-heroes for all the strength and the wisdom and the fortitude and the learning you've imparted to us who care about our race and care about our culture. So I just want to thank you. That's why I chimed in.
Thank you so much. And David is you know what that is, David?
Gene Carn.
That's who that is.
Yeah, I mean, you're legendary in my mind. I mean, I'm so happy to make your acquaintance.
Well,
and,
it's good. I
the
got
music
to call the legend.
We could not be doing what we're doing if this musical background, this revolutionary, this out of sight musical background by artists like yourself and so many other jazz artists.
Well, you know, Doug Carn and I, we're talking about The Last Poets, and we feel the same way where our music is concerned as to how you laid a path, you know, created an atmosphere, created an environment so that we could walk in the light.
Well, you know,
like Abiodun said in his statement, the groundwork is being laid for new generations. So we're all a part of the earlier generation, and we're calling, let them see how the music and poetry go together to create this, what I call re-evolutionary conceptions.
Right on. Hey, Mama Jean, if you don't mind, you know, for folks who are checking this out, if you could, in a few words, tell us when you first heard The Last Poets, what type of experience was that, and what did they mean to you and the folks of your you know, your family, your comrades, your people?
Oh, well, it worked magic. You know, if you're familiar with the black jazz music that Doug Carn and I did,
Yes.
you know that we're about messages. We're about elevating the consciousness of the music lovers. We're about revolution. So here come the Last Poets, and we're like kindred spirits.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's what it was like for us, and still is.
Right on. Well,
you know,
I'm looking for.
You had a label called the Black Jazz label, right?
Yeah, that was the label that Doug Carn and I recorded on. Infinize, Spirit of the New Land,
right?
And Revelation.
All the colors were black and white.
Correct.
And who was that? Was that Tolliver and who the people?
Well, Charles Tolliver was what was their company? Oh dear, they had this wonderful concept where the artist received 95% of the royalties.
Woo!
Strata East.
East, right?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, I toured Europe with Tolliver.
He played trumpet.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Charles Oliver, and he had a partner. I forget his partner's name.
Oh yeah.
From
Oh dear.
MJQ, right? From Modern
Yeah.
Jazz Quartet.
His name won't come to me. But we've lost both of them, but they left a heavy footprint.
When you do the work, Gene, you don't die. You never die.
That's
You,
true.
the work. I mean, like I won't be here. I'll be. I don't know how long I got to be here. You don't know how long you got to be here, but we will live forever just because we put in the work. People will be listening to Empanadas 100 years from now. People will be listening to the Last Poets 100 years from now. The work has been done, and it's still. And of course, you and I, if we have opportunity, we want to do more work because the work feeds us and it feeds the people, and that's what we're here to do. I'm a servant, and you're a servant. We're here to serve, and we want to do it righteously. And in doing that, we are living a life that will never ever die. And we really have to get these Western concepts of life and death out of our head because we're dealing with an immature mind. He cannot define living and dying for us. He is incapable. We are on another plane. That's why we're catching hell from this character because he knows that we're special. Anytime you have to bring a bunch of people here to do your work that you can't do, and then you got a law that says, don't let them read. Do not allow. What are you afraid of? You know how brilliant we are. And if we can decode the language, it's a wrap. And he knew that from the beginning. We are special people. Gene, your voice indicates that every time you open your mouth. That's why Clark hired you to teach her acting company vocal lessons because she wanted them to be able to sound like you because people can appreciate the sound. We're soundologists. We can make sounds that no word could be found in the dictionary. Our sounds will bring joy to your heart because that's who we are. I'm happy. I'm proud. Gene Carn and David Nelson right next to each other on the screen in front of me. This is a great day for me. David is the person that had the idea. Ideas come and go. They come just like going to the toilet. You can have an idea and flush it. Then you can have an idea and work on it and make it come to life. David had an idea and he made it come to life. And I'm a part of that life that he helped create. And I'm always going to be grateful to that. There's no doubt about that. There's no question.
And you see the beauty of this whole thing as us being together. This is the first time the three of us have been together. I don't know if you met Avi Odun before, but this is a historic moment because the song lines from the song come to my mind. You go, we've only just begun to live. I mean, so many roads. We just begun. Just the fact that we're meeting today. This is I'm not looking back. I mean, I'm happy to acknowledge that we started 55 years, but this is the beginning. It's not an accident that after all these years, the three of us are here together. We got to do something together. At least the three of us. I'm saying, Abi Odun said in the last part of his statement, there are new last poets being born. There are new connections being forged. And the poem that I wrote said, we are the last poets of the world. We will recreate this world in honor of our parents and our ancestors. We have got to recreate the world. So it still remains to be recreated. And like I said, let's do something together. Let's bring some of the next generation on with some of the people who are the more mature generations and continue this legacy of recreating this world.
Hey,
I
we have
agree.
you guys.
I'm
Like
sorry. Go ahead.
I was just
No,
gonna
no.
say, like Whitney has this last dance. I think that we got a last song to sing. I mean,
Hey,
it would be just the
do
fact
it in
that
Atlanta. We got the venue for you. Make it
well,
happen.
I know one thing. David put it out there, and I didn't want to infringe upon because I know that I know Gene. I know you're working. I know you're doing stuff. I'm doing stuff. David's. But yes, if we could take a moment out, if we could plan a moment where we can get together and do something, I think it would be phenomenal because my pen is hot. I know that for a fact. I'm writing every day. I mean, I wouldn't be able to talk to you if I didn't write in the morning. That's the first thing I do before I have breakfast or anything. So I'm ready. And if we have, And David, he writes and he's thinking all the time. And Gene, I know who you are. I mean, when the sister brought those, she says, Gene Carn's come in the house. I want to teach my kids how to sing. I said, Gene Carn is coming to the house. Yeah, we did meet, David. Gene was here at the house because I wanted all the students to know Empanize. They had never heard Empanize. And some people sat with tears in their eyes because of that song. And Wayne Shorter, he passed on like last year or so. He was, and Wayne Shorter was the author of that. I used to listen to Empanize all the time, not knowing that there were lyrics to it. And at Shaw University radio station, this is we have a new album here from this black jazz label out of Brooklyn. I said, hold it. I'm down here in North Carolina. I done missed the revolution. There's a black jazz label? Are you kidding me? There's a label called Black Jazz, and people are being putting music out. I thought I had missed the revolution. I really did, David. I mean, that blew me away. And he said, we have this song by Gene Carn, Doug and Gene Carn, called Empanize. I'm in prison. The only picture I had to look at was my son, Pharaoh. And I'm hearing this song, and of course you're singing to your little girl, but I'm looking at my son, and I'm crying like a baby. I mean, the Mississippi River was coming out of my face because the way you sing Empanize, I mean, God, it's just so special. It's a prayer. And yes, David, I agree. If we could take this moment and maximize it by putting something down, I think it would be a wonderful thing to do.
The great part of it is that the last poets have been totally negated by the popular media. I mean, we've been peripheralized, and the message of jazz has been submerged. It's jazz. It's, you know, what jazz means, messing around. Comes from the word meaning messing around. But
yeah, JASS in the beginning.
Right. So it's the joyful seriousness that we possess has never been as deeply portrayed as it can be in the future. And I don't think I'm with the ending of your statement, dude. I'm with your whole statement. It was beautiful. But the end, there's a new generation being born. I'm influencing as many people. You know, I have the idea called the 55s, a group of people one generation removed from us. And then beyond the 55s, those 20s and 30s, they're ready, they're waiting. And I think it would be wonderful to do something that had a mixture of, but to bridge that gap between the last poets and jazz making sure that people realize that all jazz ain't JASS messing around. Jazz has had messages, and you're right. You all had a message that inspired me before I ever got to the maturity of being able to present myself as a poet, and it continues to this day. By the way, speaking of jazz, our good friend and popular musician who loves jazz, Fred Wesley.
Oh yeah,
Fred is still playing. But the sad thing is his younger brother, Ron Wesley, just passed. But just give a plug, Ron Wesley spent his life developing the idea of Jazz USA. And he had developed, and before he passed, he made his transition into another realm. He developed a program called Jazz USA, and I'm sure I haven't talked to Fred since his transition I talked to him once, but he transitioned about a month ago. And so I think Jazz USA, if it's not on, that was his dream. So before he made transition, he created this internet program called Jazz USA.
You know,
I'm going to reach out to Fred. Yeah, he used to play trombone with me and Doug.
Oh yeah, Fred still plays trombone now.
Oh yeah,
that's one connection we made. Fred and I did something. Fred and I played together. Abi Odun is a witness of that. We were in the
we did it together. That was beautiful.
Yeah, we did something.
Matter of fact, talking about jazz and what you did with Fred's brother was trying to do, Ron. with the Jazz USA. I work in the educational system, and I have been trying to give to my principals a playlist. I said, if you just play this in the hall when the kids are changing class, or when they're sitting in the bathroom, or they're in the lunchroom, just play some jazz and watch the way our children will stop fighting, and they will do a whole bunch of other stuff that you never dreamed of. Because see, we're musically motivated, and if you play Maiden Voyage while the kids are eating, they're not going to be throwing food at each other.
That's right.
You play Infant Eyes while the kids are walking through the hall. They ain't be stop calling each other bitch and shit like that. They won't be doing that. Because the music will permeate their activities. And music is like, it's like, you can use paint for therapy, and you can use music for therapy.
Totally.
And our kids, and this is medicine. We're talking about what category David is talking about. It doesn't get played. The only classical music America can claim is jazz.
That's
The
right.
only.
It's the only indigenous.
And they would love to claim it because the fact is that we're using the same instruments that Bach and Beethoven and Mozart used, but we flipped it. When Rodgers and Hammerstein hears My Favorite Things and they hear the way John Coltrane played it, I know that they rolling around up in heavenly heaven talking about, damn, I sure wish I was black.
Hey, speaking of being black,
when he says My Favorite Things, when John is saying My Favorite Things to his horn, you can taste the collard greens.
Yes, you can.
You can the butter is just rolling off the cornbread. It's got that soulful substance that touches every living thing has a soul. Everything, even a little roach has a soul.
Hey, we have another legend on board that I'm gonna bring on the screen real quick if y'all don't mind. This brother right here. We had the last poets on the east side of things over here on the east, and over on the west, we had another group that was coming up around the same time. And for folks who know spoken word and poetry and jazz, as y'all would say, with the Z's and not the two S's, we have live and direct our Baba, Father Amdi from the Watts Prophets.
Amdi, yes sir.
Hey, now how y'all doing, everybody? One love to everybody.
One love.
One love back at you.
How you doing today, Baba? Good to see you on deck.
I'm up and down, spinning around and around, sometimes real dizzy, but always with a smile.
Right on. So
that reminds me so much of Jalal stuff.
Oh.
I know.
Yeah.
Did you and Jalal ever hang out together?
The last about 4 years of your life, me and Jalal talked every day.
Oh my God!
I did the last show with Jalal.
Oh,
we talked. He always wanted to do a reading with me.
Oh man!
And so he was very sick and living in Atlanta, and so a poet by the name of Food for Thought, and
I know,
and Georgia, me, and all of them got together. And they set up a reading in Atlanta, Georgia. This was Jalal's last reading. And the reading was at the Hammond Museum. It was standing room only, him and I. And we talked. We talked 2 or 3 times a day the last few years that he died. In fact, I talked him out of hospice. When I talked to him on the phone one day, he told me he was in hospice. Everybody had convinced him to go to hospice. I got on an airplane with a young poet from Watts, and we flew there. And I went to the hospital, and I had asked Jalal what was his favorite song. And when we got to the hospital, I told this young poet, I don't know how to use the computer, but I told him to bring one. And when we got to the door of the hospital, I said, put that song on that he liked. And we stood outside of the door, and we played that song. And we peeped in. He didn't see us, but he heard this song. And me and the boy walked into his bed. And I said, boy, what is you doing? And you talking about you in hospice? I said, you better get up out of that bed and get on out of here. And we sat down and we started to talking to him. And he jumped up and tried. He really was too weak trying to go to the bathroom. They really had been bringing a pan to the bed. But when I told him, get on up out of here, to make a long story short, he left hospice and he came home and he lived a while longer at home for a while till he just couldn't anymore. He was just too weak. And but he was still lively. He was working on his book every day. It was a phenomenal book. I hope it someday come out. It was it had the way he was writing it. It was wrote in red, green, and gold paint and pencils. Red, black, and green paint, I think, and pencils. And certain things was in red, certain things, certain emotions was in blue. Black. What those three? Red, black, and green. And certain things. It was. I hope this book come out someday. But he was, he was still tough until the last day. I talked to him the last day. He told me, "Yeah, man, I'm just laying here waiting now." He was cool all the way. Jalali.
Listen, I love Jalal. We walked down the street and he turned the conversation into a rhyme. And the brother
all the time.
He was a genius. And the thing about it is that we did Jones coming down together. He said to me one day, he says, "Dune," he says, "we got to do some research." I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Yo, man, we're the people's poets. And I said, "What?" He said, "What's killing black people?" I said, "Well, the cops." He said, "Yeah, besides that." I said, "I guess drugs." He said, "Right." He said, "We got to go do some research on drugs." I said, "What are you talking about?" He took me to a shooting gallery in Brooklyn, a shooting gallery where brothers would come in to shoot the heroin in their veins. And we went to the spot, the guy that was overseeing the spot, his name was Jew. That was a tag. They called him Jew. I thought that was really kind of ironic. A guy named Jew would be in charge of the spot. So Jew, all the heroin addicts would come in, and me and Jalal sitting there, and they look at us because they knew we weren't down with the shit. We weren't the guys that were there to shoot up drugs. But Jew would nod his head as if to say, "They cool." So once Jew gave us the satisfactory sign, then they come on in. I saw a sister take the needle and stick it in her neck to get high. When I saw this brother take out his penis and put the needle in his penis, I couldn't take it, Amdi. I jumped up, I ran up, I said, "Brother, what about your woman, man?" He said, "This shit is better than any woman." I said, "Oh my God." I was blown away. We stayed there until dawn. And if you remember Jones coming down, and now Dabi remembers it because we know a lot of Jalal stuff. His stuff was stick in your mind. Yeah. The poem starts out, "Daybreak, got the shakes, joint-driven mind, some body aches. My Jones is down on me." All he did was describe the conditions of our brothers in that situation. And I was right there with him. Hello? What? Say it again.
Yes, I was just saying there was no greater rhyming poet that ever lived. I don't care if he's Shakespeare or whoever you want to talk about than Jalal.
What I was going to say, Amdi, is whenever the Les Pauls have a performance, I always mention everybody who was in the group. The credit that I give to Jalal is being the most influential of all the hip hop artists because he really did rhyme and his rhymes made sense. He was the best rhyme I've ever heard. There's on earth. There's no hip hop artist who can touch Jalal. Jalal, man. None. I mean, when we went on stage at the Lincoln Center about 2 summers ago, and everybody in the park knew it. Automatic, systematic, remote control, synthetic, genetic, command soul. Automatic, systematic, remote control, synthetic,
genetic, command your soul.
That is an absolute, and that was written 55 years ago. And look where we are today.
That's what makes a poet, when his poems live, his lines live in the library of people's minds. That's what made Jalal. That's what makes a great poet, that your lines live in the library. If I say the revolution will not be televised, everybody in here know I'm talking about Gil Scott, because that line lives in the library of your mind. That's how that Jalal was like that, but he only believed there were 2 kinds of poets. He believed there was a prose poet and a rhyming poet. And if you didn't have a rhyming poet along with you, he said you didn't have the whole picture. He really was adamant about that.
No, but
You know,
he had to be. Yeah, listen, David can tell you, Galen Kane was opposed to Jalal because Galen Kane had brought Western civilization lock, stock, and barrel, and he did not like Jalal's rhyming poetry, mainly because he knew he couldn't do that, and that was not his forte. He wrote straight stuff. Kane wrote some fantastic poetry. Matter of fact, Kane gave us our aesthetic. There's no doubt about that. But Jalal was a rhyming genius. None of his rhymes
genius.
none of those rhymes was silly or could be dismissed. When he said it, it was, like I said, it was a conversation.
The thing that
Yeah.
that we have to overcome is the commitment to the rhyme above the commitment to the message. Jalal not only rhymed, but Jalal brought some powerful messages. Too many people find a style of rhyme and connect people to that style of rhyme. And one generation makes a slight variation and connects people to a style of rhyme and bury the message. Only the outstanding.
I can't hear you very well.
Get closer to your microphone.
Can you hear me now?
No, you got it. Where's your mic? Where's your mic?
My mic, I have, wait a minute.
Oh, good.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's much better. Much better.
Yeah, what happened is I had the earplugs with the mic and one of the plugs fell out my ear. Okay,
All right.
but I'm saying that the thing about Jalal, a lot of what it goes as modern hip hop connects to rhyme schemes and alter the rhyme scheme and bring a popular rhyme scheme, but they forget to bring a powerful word. You get caught up in the pattern of the rhyme and get credit for it. Jalal always brought a message in rhyme.
Right.
And he is right now, the people who are connecting and promoting his legacy are calling him the grandfather of rap, and he truly deserves that title. I think that because the last poets were the first rappers, and nobody wants to really, people be talk. I was looking on Google, and they were talking about so and so was the first rapper, and yeah, the last poets. I remember distinctly when we first had some stuff playing on the radio, and someone in New York said, "Oh, you were the last poets. You are those brothers who rap on the radio." And that's the first time anybody was. There wasn't no rap industry then, in the '60s. Rap industry, no
Well,
hip hop.
when we
Wasn't no
started,
what? Huh?
I wanted to say when we started rapping wasn't a popular word. The
No, it
last
wasn't.
poets didn't want to be called rappers.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Listen, what I'm
I'm
telling
trying
you.
to. The Watts
Rap
Prophets were the
Brown.
ones who made the first. The Watts Prophets were the ones who made the first album called Rap in 1970. It was called Rapping Black in a White World. We were the first ones to call it that because we were street people. And we came out of the street speaking for street people. And
Right.
rap was
Okay.
a street word on the West Coast.
It
No,
was a
rap
street.
was rap wasn't limited to the West Coast. Rap Brown ain't got his name by accident, bro. And that was
Bro,
before
I'm not trying to
1970.
argue that. All I'm just trying to tell you is
No,
rap
I'm
has a
saying
long
that
history.
rap can't. You're not hearing what I'm saying. Rap was what we did in the hood. If you had a misunderstanding between you and somebody, you didn't say, "Let me play you some rap music." You said, "Brother, we need to go and have a rap."
You know
That's
what?
what
You know
that's what was happening in the hood. Rap was a thing that took place in the hood that was
David,
designed to bring people closer together. That's all it was.
exactly.
And whether I mean,
Let me pin this in there real quick. If a brother saw a sister at a party, what did he say
he
to
said,
his
"Hey,
boy?
baby,
He says, "I
baby,
got
I'd
a."
like to rap with you."
There you go. So rap was a formidable
Exactly.
word in
That's
our
what I'm
day.
saying. Rap was popular. Rap was popular in the community long before there was any idea of any industry called the rap industry. Rap was what we did all the time. Rap Brown was called Rap Brown because the way he spoke on behalf of the movement. That was how he got that name, Rap Brown. And
Okay.
uh, whenever you had a misunderstanding, you call a brother aside and say, "Hey, we need to have a rap." Or if you had a group of wayward children, you would have a rap session with them. I mean, it was always about conversation. And so
Well, may I say something?
I'm not
May I
trying to
say
one
something?
up. I'm not trying to one up the Watts prophet. I'm just saying that I know someone said to me personally, "You the last poets, you them guys that rap on the radio." He wasn't talking about no musical genre. He was just talking about somebody having conversation. That's
You,
all.
you know what's beautiful
Well,
about this convo
okay,
right
may
here?
I say something, please? I'm 83 years old. I've been
I'm
using the
83 also.
word rap over 75 years. Rap is regional. What was going on in New York was not going on in Chicago and was not going on in California. If you lived in California, you lived in New Orleans and Louisiana, where I'm from, and came down from Texas into Los Angeles, rap was a colloquial word. I've been hearing it since I was 8 years old. And people with this, we're talking about Malcolm X today, who I consider one of the first brothers who came out of the street rapping. And nobody ever talks about why he came out of the street. To be a rapper, it meant to us on the West Coast that you could really talk, that you were smart, it meant to talk. That's all it really meant. But when we said a dude could rap, we meant that he was brilliant. We meant that he could really, really talk. And that's how it
That,
grew here on the West Coast. Now, who I consider one of the first, when we talk about Malcolm X leaving the street, nobody asks why. And why did people like the Watts Prophets come from the streets? And we have what you call a SWU diploma, Sidewalk University. And the reason Malcolm came out into the streets because nobody was speaking for us in the streets. They wasn't speaking for the whores. They wasn't speaking for the dope fiends. Dr. Martin Luther King's people would be rushing to his rallies. And they saw us standing on the corner at the pool hall. They crossed the street too. So Malcolm and people who had been in prison, who knew the brilliance. If you want to really see the brilliant brothers, see the ones who taught Malcolm in prison. Malcolm saw the pain and nobody was speaking for us in the streets. And he was the first rapper that I say stepped out. And his history was prose. And if you listen to it, Ballad of the Bullet, By Any Means Necessary, A Message to the Grassroots. It was highly classified prose to me, great speeches and very profound. But the Watts Prophets came out rapping, and it wasn't a popular thing, not even in the workshop that we came out of in Watts, because we were street people coming in amongst academic people. As I say, we all, like Malcolm, had SWU degrees, Sidewalk University. So I honor everybody. I'm not trying to one-upmanship on nobody. Rap started in Africa and came on down, first identified itself with Paul Laurence Dunbar, and then it came on down through the Harlem Renaissance on down, and it came down another way from Louisiana, from
Hey,
New Orleans.
the
We've
best
been
part,
doing it.
the best part,
So
Father.
that's all I wanted to say about this. And I'm not one-upmanship either, brother. I just want to tell you how we look at our history.
We need that, Brother Amdi. I thank you and appreciate you for that, because this is what we need. We need to have conversation about all things. And in doing that, we grow and we learn.
That's right.
And that's all it's about. I'm thankful for what you had to say, because yes.
Well, bruh, you see, in Louisiana, we was breeded. We're Creoles. Our grandmothers knew that they was raped into existence. and they breeded guys like me. I was breeded by my grandma and them. So people have to understand that as I say, rap is regional. Mine came down from New Orleans on down to here where I started doing it in WAP.
See, this is why you all are necessary, because if the original East Coast West Coast beef would have had you all as an example, then it wouldn't have went the way it went. So definitely we appreciate y'all. The most important thing that I heard was that it came up out of Africa. We all African, and we ain't gonna set trip. We ain't down with no invisible borders and boundaries.
That's right.
We are one people. I love and appreciate the fact that me coming generations after you, this is a testament to the work that you all have done. I listened to Gene Carn from, my mother and and her sisters playing the music. I listened to the Last Poets. I listened to the Watts Prophets. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I was telling you the other day, one of the songs that's stuck in my head right now is "These Niggas Ain't Playing." Them niggas ain't playing by the Watts Prophets. I appreciate and love you all for coming on. We have another brother that's coming up out of here because we mentioned Gil Scott Heron a little while ago. So we have someone from that's going to join us from the Spirit of the Midnight Band.
Right.
Our brother Bilal Sunni Ali. He's in the building tonight. What's going on, Bob Bilal?
Good night, Kalonji. How you doing, my brother?
Salam. Man, I'm alive. Walaikum salam. I'm alive on arrival. You came right on time because we was talking about rap and our favorite rapper is H-Rap Brown, Imam Jamil Alameen, because we're part of that community and we like to say free Imam Jamil.
I'm so proud of y'all, man, for bringing that up. For David for bringing it all full circle. What rap was and what rap has been long before it was a genre, considered a genre, right, before they tried to define us by it. Man, we was doing it. We was there. We had to, rap was a form of survival, and like you said, rap did it. That's why they named him when he was a teenager. Long before he came in the movement, because that's how he used to express himself as a little boy and as a young man growing up in the hood. He expressed himself so well and so succinctly and with so few words, and made them rhyme. That they called him rap, man. Hardly anybody knows unless you look at them posters in the post office, and who goes in the post office to see what somebody's name is. But even on them posters, they have H-Rap Brown. He was known that everybody, and they even named the law, and in the law, they didn't name the law after his given government name or whatever. They named it after the name that the people gave him. Rap, the H-Rap Brown law. It's tough. I'm glad David brought that up. How you doing? How you doing tonight? All of y'all doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah. Congratulations, I gotta say, man. This is Malcolm's birthday. This is our Shahid's birthday, and I remember them being born on our birthday. Yeah.
Well, but I like to thank you for being, because Gil had a band called the Midnight Band. I know you were part of that. And plus, and Gil was my brother. And matter of fact, I let all you know, Bilal turned me on to Gil's daughter. She stayed here with me for a couple of weeks. She was here in New York City to do some of her father's work on stage at the African Street Festival.
Yeah.
And Bilal called me and said that, do you have any space for Gia? And I said, Gil's daughter? Are you kidding me? I mean, it was amazing because Gil and I, people always compared Gil and I because, first of all, I sing and I do poetry, and Gil sings and does poetry. And then I have a piece called When the Revolution Comes, and Gil had a piece called Revolution Not Be Televised. So people will run into me and they'll say, yo, dude, I love the Last Poets. The Revolution Not Be Televised. And I say, right on. And then I was with Gil, and we were in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Black Arts Festival. And a brother ran up to Gil. Gil and I were walking together, And the brother ran up to Gil and said, Gil Scott Heron, oh man, I love your work, brother. When the revolution comes. And Gil said, right on. But those are two different poems.
Yeah.
Here we are, about 2 years before Gil passed away, we had a gig at the Carter Barron Amphitheater in DC. And at the end of the performance, the paparazzi had to stay on stage. And it was Gil Scott and I and the paparazzi. And the guy says, Gil, I got Abby O'Doon on stage, and he's the last poet. Tell us, are you a last poet? So Gil said, yeah, I'm a last poet. And then he looked at me, and I said, yes, Gil is a last poet. He's not a member traveling in the group, but his philosophy is the same as our philosophy, and that's what makes a last poet. David made that clear earlier. You can't, it's not just the fact that you are in this group being called last poets. You're a last poet if you're talking the language that we're talking, and you're living up to it. So then he said, well, what about him biting? This is a problem. We can't teach everybody our slang. He said, what about him biting over your poem? I said, biting? I said, what are you talking about? Well, you did a poem about revolution and television. And he did one too. I said, listen, Gil Scott Heron said, I said, when the revolution comes, some of us will probably catch it on TV with chicken hanging from our mouths. You'll know it's revolution because there won't be no commercials. I said, Gil heard that. He was inspired, and he took it to the next level. He said the revolution will not be televised. I said, he did not bite off of my poem. He graduated my poem. He took it to a whole other place. And that's what we do. We stand on the shoulders of each other. Everything that's been said, it all comes like, and Amdi pointed it out. Rap started in Africa a long time ago. Like David said, it ain't nothing but a conversation. It's a conversation. It's me trying to talk to this beautiful sister. It's me talking to my boys in the hood. It's a way in which we communicate. We've always been master communicators. We can communicate with sound and we can communicate with words. And in this world that we're living in, because their language is so insufficient to satisfy our feelings, we have got to change the language. We are children of bad. There is no culture on the planet that can say bad is good but us. We're the children of bad. Dope is wonderful. Who in the world makes dope wonderful but us? Makes stupid luxurious. How can stupid be luxurious? It's stupid, it's supposed to be stupid, but it's so stupid until it's wonderful out of our mouths. Because we can do that. That's the genius of us. We've taken nigger, which is shit, and turned it into meatloaf. Mm-hmm. Man, I love that nigger. We ain't saying somebody that's nasty and stinky and you don't want them around because of the sound. We could take a sound and make it beautiful. That's our gift. But we need to be more thoughtful about the things that we do and say because they have a way of making us look stupid if we don't understand our gift. And many of us have the gifts, but we don't understand the gifts that we have.
Right on, right on.
One thing.
Go ahead, Bob. I'm gonna let you get down. I don't want to interrupt.
I was just saying one thing about the word rap that was revealed to me in my meditation is that it essentially is the derivative of the word rapport.
Right.
And so rap always harkens back to the word rapport. It always is about, if you talk about rapping, hey baby, I like to rap with you. I'd like to have more rapport with you. If you say we need to rap, we need more rapport. It's always.
I think it means all of those things. Yeah.
It's derivative.
I think that means all of those things. Yes.
It's derivative of the concept of rapport, which is a more harmonious relationship. So rap ultimately leads to rapport. It's derivative. It's a shortening of the word rapport. Hey, we need to rap. We need some rapport. And I think that's a very good way of looking at it because I personally would like to call the rap industry back to the meaning rapport and say if you are a rapper, you ought to have at least one poem that is unifying and bringing rapport to this world that we have.
Well, people relate rap constantly to hip hop, but you must remember rap had a baby called hip hop, not hip hop had a baby called rap. Rap was here way before any hip hop.
Absolutely.
Hip hop took rap and put it in its bag and made it its thing, because the record industry, as they did to all of our music in my 83 years, as I watched them take bebop, I watched them take jazz, I watched them take R&B, I watched all of these things go down. And when they took it and made it a pop art, they took rap, which is a fine art, that
Exactly.
developed right alongside jazz.
But you know what,
If you
though?
go to the horror, and they took it and put it into their thing. But
Exactly.
rap is a fine art, and it wasn't but two fine arts found in its country. That's jazz and rap, and that'll be understood after a while here when you begin to research it, that it's a new art form, ever evolving. It didn't stop evolving when we left Africa, and it first showed itself with Paul Laurence Dunbar. That's why them white folks loved his poetry, his what they call dialect. They knew it was a new, ever evolving language, and it continued to evolve. You saw it in people like Langston Hughes when he recorded with Charlie Mingus. Jazz and rap were right side by side in the whorehouses. J. Edgar Hoover had rap, the jazz musicians investigated because he thought they were speaking another language. And then you saw cats like Oscar Brown who brought it again to the head. See, this is an ever developing, ever evolving language. Like we used to call it a pad. The next generation call it a crib. The next generation call it a spot. It's ever evolving according to the area that it comes out in.
Everything has an
evolution. It continues to evolve.
Everything. I always say we cannot have a revolution without an evolution. And evolution is that's the one reason why I think we love Malcolm so. On his birthday, I love Malcolm primarily because, I love King too, but I love Malcolm more because he evolved. Yeah. And every single evolution, every evolutionary stage he came to, he had a name, a different name for each stage. You can't make this up. He was born Malcolm Little. Now that sounds like a fairy tale written by Dr. Seuss. He born Malcolm Little. Later on became Detroit Red. And then later on in prison they named him Satan because he was mean and he had red hair. Then he becomes Malcolm X.
But part of the evolution, you said he was born Malcolm Little, and soon he become Big Red. He came from Malcolm Little to Big Red.
Questions.
The evolution, the transmutation from being a little to a big, and then Big Red. He was compared to Red Fox, who was, I guess, Little Red. Right. He was Big Red in the Hustler Circle.
I want to ask him.
Well, also, we freed the word, our generation. You must remember, we were freed from chattel slavery. But my mama and grandma and them were still bowing their heads and holding their hats and talking about yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. We're the generation who read it our head up and said, fuck that. We ain't doing that no more. Excuse the expression. I don't like to use that word because it's a very dangerous word. But I was just showing you, the word had to be free. We were freed from chattel slavery. But as it came down, like I said, from Langston Hughes to Paul Laurence Dunbar to Baraka, who talked about jazz and the word, on down to Oscar Brown Jr., on down to the last poets and Watts prophets, and it continues on. It's ever evolving.
I want to ask Jean Carr, because I know that one of the things that she mentioned when she came on, she talked about, how the music was inspirational and how it was revolutionary to an extent, right?
Yeah.
So I want to ask. Yeah. So I want to ask you, from your years as an artist and witnessing evolution as everyone's talking about, would you say that where we are right now, would you look at it as devolving, or is there hope in your eyes? How do you see this coming from you? And I want to ask everyone the same question, but I want to start with Jean, since she's been since she hasn't had the opportunity to really speak as much. But you know, what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel that there's with what you all have left, do you feel there's enough of a blueprint to ignite and to get things on the right side of the barricades?
Oh, I think it's eternal. I think it's perpetual, and it's forever. The concepts that we're leaving for our young folks, you know, all young folks aren't dead end. You know, there are plenty of young kids who are picking up the mantle, and will take our messages seriously and spread them to the far corners of the earth. So it ain't over.
No. It's just like David said earlier about the new generation. I mean, and I feel what Gina's saying because I know quite a few young people who are definitely ready and set in motion to make the next changes. I mean, Brother Kalonji, you're part of that, and you're inspiring that by having this radio station, and people are listening to you, and I know that because I got 3 or 4 calls. So you're gonna be on Kalonji's show tonight. I'm saying, wow. I mean, you know, so there's a group because see, the truth is something that's going to automatically have its own existence. You can't stop the truth, and that's what we're about. And people will try to shove it under the rug or camouflage it, but it's always going to come out. And we're going to always find a way to continue the message that the God in us has demanded we do, because it's really a God's force that's in us that's causing this to happen, and we got to acknowledge that. You know, I mean, I'm not telling people to go to church. I'm saying you are the church. Damn it, recognize that. Ring your own bell. You know, I mean,
and see, by taking the conversation to Gene, the host, you were right on, because brothers get to knocking and knocking, and it takes a sister to come in with a mellow word. But it still goes back to the idea that we are here. And my brother from the Watts Prophets, I'm 83, just like you. And we have to, they talk about, to me, to the last poet, about passing the torch. I ain't passing nothing. I'm lighting torches, but I intend to keep mine going. Now, somebody might get ready to retire theirs, but I got news for you. Life begins at 82. So I'm looking for my next 70 years. I'm looking to carry this torch on. But I love to light the torches of every generation and every coast. So the East Coast and the West Coast. We are needed here today. We need to
we need this tour going.
We need to be lighting the torches of each oncoming generation. The
David,
20 and 30.
David, you said it earlier. You got Gene Kahn, you got David Nelson, you got Abiel Dune, and now we got Amdi. And we're gonna let this fly by like an illusionary bird. This needs to be chronicled. We need to make a plan to somehow get together and drop some love and science on the folks at least one last time, because while we still have breath to do that, I think that's key. This conversation can go on. We can do this conversation to the end of the night, and I know that because we got so much to say. And Jean ain't doing nothing but just sitting there looking wonderful and taking it all in. And then when she says something, it's like just like a sister, she'll drop some honey on the blade. And we always use honey. We got to have honey on the blade. I'm gonna cut you, but it's gonna be sweet. And
what, everybody, I want to do my children a party for me in New York. I don't know how many people be in New York, but in July 16th, if you're home, we want to invite you. It's going to be at Ross Marshall's house out in Long Island.
Oh, that sounds like a bet.
That's
July 16th.
Yeah, that's one place we can record. But I'm gonna be out on the West Coast in a minute. June 16th. I should be out there. We're gonna be commemorating the 30th year anniversary of the truce, the Bloods and Crips truce, and a lot of young cats are joining that truce. And I know when I said I was going to do it, some younger cats like Yasin Bey and Ghostface Killer said they was going to get on it too. So whenever we need to document whenever we come together and pull together situations that we can document with our art. So those are two dates that I'm open for documentation, and for whoever to join in with me is good.
I'm down with that.
Bilal came with the calendar. He said, "Let's not talk about it, be about it." So
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm
down.
I'm looking forward to it. This is I'm gonna get
Something
get with all your folks
I
to
was just
make
thinking,
sure it happens.
he's gonna be in the California area, and that's perfect. Get something from me. Gonna be in the East Coast, and you get something from me. David is in between. He can make it either way, I suppose. And Gene Carnes in the East Coast, where I'm at. She's in.
And you can let me know what's happening. I had the first gang truce in Los Angeles 50 years ago with the founders of the Crips and Bloods, Raymond Washington. I happened to baptize the two founders of the Crips, and Tookie was very close to me, the one they executed. I worked with them very many years ago. So I would love to see you guys, what you guys are doing today. We'll stop still working in Watts.
Cool. I'll be in Watts. Matter of fact, I'll be with Imam Mujahid. If you remember from the Truth Organizer. I'll be with, and we'll be out there. And Dr. Matula Shakur will be with me. And we're gonna we want to commemorate this what the work that y'all did then and bring it up to date and make it a worldwide thing, so
I'm still holding workshops out there. I have another one starting on the 7th of next month in Watts.
Okay. I'm gonna okay, I should be out there by the 12th and be out there 10 days. So if you got a workshop going on within that period, I want to come to it. And
well, let me say this about what you asked, brother. What did we think about the future? Well, when Bob Marley died, we was making an album together. And I always remember one thing he said: you think this is the end, but this is just the beginning. Something new is coming through. Okay. A lot of us are going to be hurt because a lot of us is going to be asleep. But a lot of us are going to survive this. And it's people like us and Sonny Patterson and the different artists that are out there that are real. We got to keep talking, like the brothers say. I'm going to keep rolling till the wheels come off. And so I would like to leave you guys with a poem before I go, if I possibly could, brother. Can I?
I was gonna make that was my next thing. I was gonna make a request for something from everybody. Now I don't know if Mama Jean might hit me in my head if I ask her to just hit a verse of "Don't Let It Go."
Yeah, ladies first. We're still gentlemen are still around here. Ladies first.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, all of the lyrics that Doug and I put to those jazz classics like Acknowledgement of Love Supreme by John Coltrane, Contemplation by McCoy Tyner, Peace by Horace Silver, Search for the New Land by Lee Morgan. I'll give you some lyrics.
This is classic.
Which started out as poems, obviously. Let's see. Since you spoke about Infinize, my oldest daughter, she got me online, because I'm not very astute in the digital world. But we did Infinize, which was the title tune of the first album that Doug and I did, and we put lyrics to Wayne Shorter's Infinize. His was, of course, the instrumental version. All we need in this world is to have a time of peace, a time of life and love with all guidance from above, a time when man can understand being free. We need peace for our children so that they may live a better life. What a joy divine, what a perfect state of mind, with their worries and cares left behind, all in a peaceful time, etc., etc.
That's didn't who wrote that? That's wait, hold.
Horace Silver.
Horace Silver wrote that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All we need in this
Exactly.
world
Is
is
to have a time of peace,
a
a
time
time of life and love with all guidance
from
from above. Yeah, yeah.
time for man to understand.
Well, you better sing. I hear ya. Whoa.
I sang long before I ever wrote poetry. But Gene, you don't realize I'm sitting in Central Prison in Raleigh, North Carolina, and the only thing I could listen to was WSHA, which is the black radio station coming out of Shaw University.
Wow.
And they're playing the hell out of the black jazz label. I know peace. I know infinite eyes. I went to bed listening to that stuff. There's a sister named Bisa. She's out of Philly, and she's a singer too. She's a Pisces like yourself, and she used to play it, and she would learn. And she had a man who would make her hold her breath because you sung the song like the way Hubert Laws plays the flute like that. You didn't take no breath. It just like just flew. But see, that's because you sang, honey. To have that kind of voice where you don't even need the listener can't tell when you take a breath. Everything just flows together. And I felt so sorry for Bisa because some man was beating her to death to get like that. And I mean, he was just trying to make her do you, but she was the one that played it all the time. And I mean, like Davi's already mentioned, and it's been mentioned before, the love that you gave us in that music helped us all live better. And it does. Music is such a major medicine for us.
It is.
I mean, it's
medicine, it's therapy. Yeah.
Major medicine. And we don't recognize we can heal ourselves. Like he just talked about, we lost one of the last poets, Jalal. But what did you say, Amdi? He put the music by the room before you went into the room. And Jalal was sitting up. I know he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
That's right.
Before he died. This man lived a couple of years with stage 4. Stage 4 said, tomorrow you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And he said, no, I'm not going yet.
That's exactly what he said.
He went on his own terms. I knew Jalal. I knew him. He went on his own terms. And
That's right.
He had an ego, but he had deserved. Everybody's got an ego.
Yeah.
And people have to exercise their egos the best way they know how. Our job is to understand the person that you're dealing with and recognize you got faults too. You got things that rub people differently.
That's right.
Don't you want them to tolerate your shit? If it's worth it, whatever Jalal had, he will live forever because he did the work. And we'll never, like we're talking about now, Gil Scott-Heron will live forever because he did the work. You know, all of it. Betty Carter will live forever. Sarah Vaughan, they don't die. You think Mr. B is dead? Get out of here. And we need to recognize that in the work that we do.
We go and put the artists here on this broadcast, go on and put something together and bring some other. I like the idea of having a mixture of the elders and then various other generations on an album. So you
absolutely.
have a
well, it's very difficult to be an 83-year-old artist today. You see, this society retires old people. We're at our sharpest, and they think we are. I keep telling young people, old folks are slowing down so y'all can catch up. Y'all don't really understand when you got an 83-year-old vision. You done looked at 83 years. You ain't but 50. You ain't but 50, 60. We got a view back 80-something years, and we were actually a part of that.
Amdi.
Yes.
You heard the expression, the fastest way to get there is to go slow.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
So with that in mind, you have a piece
Hey,
you're gonna drop. We heard from Gene Carr, we heard from Abil Doon, and you dropping something. We don't want to let you off the hook. You know what I'm saying? We don't want you to mess around and say, oh, I gotta go. So you know what I'm saying? We want to hear what you got to drop as well before we move on.
Okay, well, this poem is called Enternet. That's the name of it. I hear people say each and every day that the internet will set modern man free like a dolphin in the sea. Now, that statement completely confused me. Since when, my friends, has a net set anything free? Now, my simpleness I regret, but where's the freedom in a net? Fishermen make nets, spiders weave webs, both are traps. The spider knows all in his web. He keeps it in sight day and night, wrapped real tight with a click and a bite. Is it online or inline? Download, unload. Where's the freedom in a net? Stealth traps in your laps, net zero, hero, sky, tail, intel, DSL, email, tail. Processing your personal soul for info. No telling where it go. Only the net maker really know. Now, you used to be able to shred it, but now that's jive. The hard drive is always alive. Wrapped real tight with a click and a bite. Spider-Man can pull you up tonight. Free man freely entering a net will one day experience regret because there's no freedom in a net. Fishermen control their nets. Spiders control their webs. Who, my friend, controls the World Wide Web you're in? What spider has you in its website? Wrapped real tight with a click and a bite.
Right on, right on.
Yes, Amdi. Yes, my brother. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen,
Yes.
man.
That's on my latest album, Ebony Creole Whispers. It's on on all the platforms.
We're gonna get a list of all your websites. I'm gonna put it in the chat notes. This particular broadcast is going on. It is live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook right now. It will be archived. We definitely appreciate you all joining us for this monumental occasion. If you all have any closing words, because I know as the preacher man used to say, it's getting late in the evening. We talking about you all doing this project. I hate to be like the dude on the block, but I want in. So I just want y'all to know that, and I ain't, I know y'all still got the muscles and everything, so I don't want no problems. So we'll talk. But any closing words coming from you all, for the people, please feel free to to bring it. And I guess we can start with Baba Bilal and come back counterclockwise.
So let me
I just want to thank
quickly.
you, Brother Kalonji, for putting together.
Without a doubt, man, it's an honor and a privilege.
I want to go ahead and give very quickly the website where people can go on the website and visit BANA. That's the Black Acupuncture Advisory Association of North America, and that's www.BAAANA.org. And you can go on that, and you can, if you don't know what it's all about, you can get it all about it. And the other one I want to drop is www.imamjamilactionnetwork.org. www.imamjamilactionnetwork.org. and you can find out, you can get more information about the rap. As he says, without rap, there ain't no hip hop. So I want you to visit both of those websites and stay in tune. I'll be looking forward to linking up with you now when I get out to the West Coast, and we
All righty.
document that
I
stuff
would like to,
further.
all right. I would like to say, they tell you about the signified monkey and all that stuff. Now, let me tell you about a brother where it was real, real and rough. Heavy's deepest mind this century, bar none. They exalt fools, outside I say tools above him. But those that are hip know they on a trip. What's this man's name, Whitey said. Malcolm, sir, shouted Tom. Take that nigga's head. He's waking black folks from the dead, talking about lead. Kill they did. But the master Malcolm lives on, 'cause his ideas live on and on and on and on and on.
I say.
That was appropriate.
Yes, sir. Baba David, I see you on the move over there. Look like he heading out. You have anything you want to leave us with?
Oops.
He left for real. So we're gonna leave with
He
Mama
blacked
Jean.
out. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, no,
he's gone, huh? Oh,
I think he might have disconnected as he moved on.
Yeah, something happened.
Yes,
Well,
Mama Jean, we appreciate you coming on. Can you want to give us some last words before we exit?
Yeah, I was very, very shocked and saddened to hear about Jim Brown just before we connected with each other, because I've known Jim Brown ever since he managed Earth, Wind and Fire.
Jim Brown managed him? I didn't know that.
Sir. This was back 70s.
Friends of Distinction, he managed them.
Exactly. I was telling my daughter how Jessica Cleaves became the lead singer, one of the lead singers in Earth, Wind and Fire, because Jim managed both groups.
She's one of the unknown heroes of singing. She was a bad, great singer.
Really bad. One day
that was my daughter's best friend.
On the first album?
No. The first album was Earth, Wind and Fire. The second was The Need of Love. Doug Carn and I both recorded on those with Earth, Wind and Fire.
Wasn't Sherry on one of the first ones? A girl named Sherry.
Sherry Scott, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
that was the only sister they had in the group.
Yeah, who worked with the group. Now I recorded with them those first two albums on Warner Brothers.
I didn't know that.
They went with CBS. But, and it was Jim Brown that took Jessica out of the Friends of Distinction and put her, made her part of Earth, Wind and Fire. But at lunch one day, Patti LaBelle and I said, because everybody loved Jessica's voice. And we said, we're going to find her and record her. And before we could find her, she passed away.
Oh my God.
Because the story was that she had hooked up with a drug dealer. She died that way. So and the last
she was my daughter's best friend.
Oh my, wow.
Yes, and they were very, very close since they were young girls. And exactly she came up to Humble, where I live in the hills, to try to stay a while, but she couldn't. She just couldn't get herself together after she left Jim Brown. Things just didn't work, because she was with what was that spaceship? George Clinton. Remember, she was sung with him for a while.
I didn't even know about that. I remember when Felipe Wynn went with Clinton, but wow.
Yeah, she was running around there too.
The right influences.
That's right. She was such a beautiful woman.
Oh,
she was so beautiful.
Directly from heaven.
Directly from heaven, yes.
I didn't know Jim Brown was into music like this, so that's good. I didn't know that.
Well, Jim Brown was a facilitator.
I got you.
Back then, yeah. Or like he dealt with the gangs.
Yeah.
Yes, he had the biggest program in America.
He was the conduit.
Right. Well, that's when I spoke to him on. I was on my way to LAX, and we were supposed to be getting together, and we spoke about that. And I told him I was a big fan and so forth. And I think the name of his was this American or something. American.
That's right. Yeah. That's the exact name, American.
Yeah.
American.
Yeah, and so
a lot of people came to watch to work with the gangs. If you look at my website, you'll see Bob Marley when he came to Watts and Compton to work with me and the gangs. People don't know that story though.
No, yeah.
There's so much information here. I mean, this could be a university, but just us. Lord have mercy. Woo!
Yes.
I'm over.
I want to say
Bob Marley recognized the value of rap soon as he heard it. As soon as he heard me one night rap in his studio. The next morning he came and said, I want to make an album with you guys. I gave him an album and a book. He went to bed and read it. They said that night he stayed up and read this book and listened to our album. The next day he came and said, I want to record with you all. I like that concept. So he recognized what rap was instantly.
Yeah, it's a part of our history. I mean, then I look, people that we haven't even mentioned have been King Pleasure, Eddie Jefferson.
Exactly.
Come on.
Right, there you go. That's what rap is. What they don't understand, though, that rap is singing it, scatting it, humming it, chanting it. It's whatever you can do with the voice. It has nothing to do with this monotonous thing that they do in rap. I mean, the way they do it in hip hop. No, rap it can be used in any language. It can be used with a variety of instruments from whatever. It's very broad. What they did is they made it style. And I learned a long time ago from great artists that style was the death of creativity. And that's what hip hop is in a sense when it comes to the ever evolving creativity of the art form called rap.
I've had Baba Abiodun Doon on in separate interviews. I've had Baba Bilal on several times as well in separate interviews. I would love to get you, Gene Khan, and Bala Amdi on for separate interviews because I think that your history, both of your histories are, it's such a wealth of information and knowledge. And I've learned, and I know that our audience have, as well as all of us on this screen, we've learned something new tonight from each other. And
that's right.
I don't take this lightly. We on this platform we've had a little bit of everybody on here. You know what I'm saying? From a Cornell West to an Angela Davis to all types of folks in between. The last poets, of course. We had Felipe and Abiodun different times. And, we do not take any of this for granted. We value your time. We respect your time. We respect your bodies of work. And, it would be an honor if we can set up some dates in the near future, because I would really like our audience to know what you have contributed to our culture, because we think it's necessary. So, I will be getting in touch with you. And, I pray that you all are around for another 83 plus. Because it's necessary. Baba Abiodun,
yes sir,
man, you've been 55 years. Y'all like the Isley brothers of of spoken word, of poetry. The Watts Prophets, the Last Poets. I mean, that's powerful. I mean,
very.
What do you got to say?
It's very funny, and I think we touched on this a little while ago. A lot of times they put us into these tags. They put these different tags on you, and I'm one of those folks that I say it's some things that need to be thrown out. You can't slam poetry. I hate that concept.
Me too.
Slamming. Like Omni said, poetry is a fine art, and that's a fact of life. It's a fine art. And the other thing is that don't call me a spoken word artist. I'm a poet.
Yeah.
I can be a spoken word artist, But a spoken word artist, if we just review some of the stuff that was said tonight, a spoken word artist is somebody like Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, because they gave you speeches in an artistic way.
That's right.
And you can't, and to be honest with you, you cannot give a speech without employing poetry if you want to keep your audience listening. Poetry will have them listen. Poetry works on the five senses. You have to work one of them bad boys to keep your audience alive. Touch, taste, smell, sight, or hearing. But if you're not reaching them, if you're talking some intellectual nonsense, they're dead. Most of them are sleeping. Even if they're looking at you, they sleep. They're not listening. When you mention poetry, it's like when some news person tried to really bring Malcolm to mention on his birthday about how we were confused. We called ourselves Negro. We called ourselves colored. Then we called ourselves Afro-American. And then it came to be black. And the guy was trying to crack. And he was doing this in front of Malcolm. You know what Malcolm would do if you try to crack on Malcolm. If people don't know, Malcolm would give you a wry smile. If he gave you that smile, you knew a hand grenade was coming right after the smile. You're getting ready to get blown up. So this guy says, well, Malcolm, your peoples call themselves Negro, then they call themselves colored, then they call themselves Afro-American, I believe. And then I heard this term black. He says, they seem to be a little bit confused. What do your people call themselves now? Malcolm gave him that smile and said, just because a cat has kittens in the oven, it don't make them biscuits.
Right on.
That is pure poetry for Malcolm's birthday. Just because a cat has kittens in the oven, it don't make them biscuits. We were African people. We were African people when we came here to the oven, and we are African people today. It's very simple. Ain't nobody got to wonder what the hell you are. You are African, and you should be proud because that's the mama of everybody.
The root of humanity.
That's right. Well, hey, with that in mind, and shout out to Minister Server in the background, throwing darts, because you know he's waiting for somebody to check me, so I just had to acknowledge him real quick. But definitely, Abiel Doon, we appreciate you clarifying that, because that is of the utmost importance. Baba David, good to see you join us tonight. Baba Bilal, Father Amdi, Gene Karn, we appreciate your efforts, your works, and we're looking forward to our audience. If you have never heard of any of these folks on the screen right now, do yourself a favor. Go check their work out. Yeah, because this I don't think they quite understand what's going on right here, right now. You know, this is power personified. So I definitely
pull up watchprophets.org and see the baptism of Nina Simone.
Woo! That would be powerful. I'd love to see that myself.
He said to see
pull up watchprophets.org, and when you get to her site under photos, when you get to her site, press the little button at the top and let her music play as you scroll.
Man, wow. I've done a concert with Nina Simone. Talking about a piece of work. Woo, God. I love it.
Oh, was she? I took her out of the crazy house, man.
Well,
that's how I met her.
I had to do the Matrix with Nina. She tried to throw a cognac in my face because we had a show together. I had a jazz group, and she was a featured artist at the Beacon Theater here in New York City. And David he knew I was doing this gig with Nina, so he tells me to ask Nina about his royalty because David did a poem that she sang on her album. She has an album called Emergency Ward, and she has a poem on there called Today is a Killer, and that's a poem written by David. But she, Nina could take a poem and turn it into a song in a heartbeat. Right. And she did that with Langston Hughes poetry, and she did that with David's. And I played it on my radio station live because it's a monster the way she sings it, and I know David's intent when he wrote it. So David said, "Listen, man, ask her about my royalty because I haven't got no royalty check." So I said, "Sure." I really can't tell you all the rest because it's going to stop the brother from having a radio show. Because Nina came out the car, and I'm waiting backstage at the Beacon to talk to her. And I said, "Nina, I'm Abiel Doon of the Last Poets. I know you know the Last Poets, blah, blah, blah." I gave her the introduction. And I said, and David, who you know, asked me about his royalty. And I'm not going to go through the rest because I want to respect the fact that she was Nina, the high priestess. but it was a fire and brimstone conversation from that moment on.
Well,
Yeah.
bro, you got a
believe
minute? Let me tell you how I met her. Do you
Please.
have enough time?
I
Yeah,
don't
go
know.
ahead and rock.
Do you have enough time for me to tell you how I met her? It's real quick.
Please come with it.
I was working in Watts one day in the projects, and an artist named Babatunde came through and said, "Say, man, you know, they got Nina Simone downtown in the Crazy House down there in the Big General Ward." I say, "Yeah." I said, "What y'all gonna do about it?" Because he came from a poverty program. And he said, "Man, we ain't getting involved in that." So after I got through work, I went home and I told my beautiful wife, highly spiritual woman, I said, "Shirley," I say, "they got Nina Simone down there at the Big General on a psych ward getting ready to commit her." And my wife looked over at me and said, "What you gonna do about it?" Because I'm an Ethiopian priest. She said, "What are you gonna do about it?" I said, "What you mean?" She said, "She gonna need somebody down there to speak for her." So I got in my car and I went to Big General Hospital. And I asked, could I see Nina Simone? I went to, got where she was and went to her ward. And they told me, they said, "Are you part of the family?" I said, "No, I'm not part of the family." They said, "Well, you can't see her." And we got in a big argument. So I went to, at that time, they had telephone booths. I went to the telephone booth and I called a city councilman by the name of Bob Farrell. And I told him, I said, "Bob, I'm fixing to go to jail." He said, "For what?" I said, "If they don't let me see Nina Simone, I'm going off, man, because I'm going in there to see her." He said, "Hold on, Father Auntie. Let me in." So to make a long story short, he got me in. So when I walk in, they take me to this little room. And I see Nina coming. Everybody in that place on her ward is following her. If she sit down, everybody sit down. If she got up, everybody walked with her. So anyway, they finally bring in the little room where I'm at. So when she walks in, I say, "Good morning, Mrs. Simone. How are you?" She said, "However I am, I don't want to see no goddamn preacher." I looked up at her and I said, "Miss Simone, first of all, I'm not a goddamn preacher. And sit down." That's exactly the way I said it. I said, "Sit down. These white folks is fixing to hang you." She looked at me and she sat down. But just as she sat down and we started to talk, two aides came. They said, "Excuse me, sir, Mrs. Simone has to go to a hearing. They're getting ready to commit her now." So they say she has to go to a meeting, to a hearing. So I say, "I know a little about the system." I say, "Well, can I go as an advocate? I'm a priest. I want to go with her as an advocate." They said, "Okay." They went and talked and caucused and they came back and said, "You can go." So they take us into this room with the judge and all that. And we sitting around this table, the probation department, the psych department, the ward nurse, the probation department in the county of Los Angeles. We all sitting at this table. And me and asked Nina, did if she want to go with me? That's how they let me go. So anyway, we sitting at this table. So I'm sitting there, I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna get in this conversation. Because they're talking about Nina. Each one of them, is giving their report. The probation department, the psych department, the such and such. So I keep hearing one thing. She's a danger to herself and others. So I jumped on that. I said, "Excuse me." I said, "Y'all keep saying Nina's a danger to herself and others." I turned to her. I said, "Nina, you had a fight in here?" She said, "No," if you know her. That's where she was. She said, "No." I said, "Well, who dressed you today?" "I dressed myself." So after a while, I turned to him and I said, "I don't understand. How is she, a menace, going to be a danger to herself and others? Where? She ain't had no fights. What are you guys talking about?" So the moderator, the judge, he said, "Sir, what would you like to do with Mrs. Simone?" I said I would like to take her to watch the Martin Luther King Hospital where some black doctors will know who she is and how important she is to our culture, tradition, and history. They said, would you like to go with him, Mrs. Simone? She said, yes. To make a long story short, that was the worst thing I ever did. I'll tell you that story later. But to make a long story short, she ended up at my home. She stayed, me and my wife left out of our bedroom, and she stayed with us for about 3 months until she got on her feet. We had some I could tell you some episodes I had with her.
You ain't got to tell me, brother. I know. I had a very serious experience with Nina Simone. She's a genius. She was great, but she was a piece of work. And
that's right.
I have a thing. I have this little doom bird where I say, appreciate the gift, but do not confuse it with the gift giver.
Well, she was a wonderful person to me. I didn't have no trouble with her when she found out that my wife was tougher than she was, and we all came from the same tribe.
Oh yeah,
she's a Pisces, I'm a Pisces, you a Pisces.
Right.
That's we all related.
No, and, she had real to me too because brother, she had. I knew she was gonna throw a cognac in my face. I knew it was gonna happen, and when she threw it. I did the Matrix, brother. I didn't get a drop on me. And I looked at her, I said, and I got in her face just like you. I said, stop being stupid and get on that stage and people are clapping for you. Because see, I'm worried that if she don't perform and she's the feature, it's gonna be so late until she might be the only one. And my group can't get on this is a second show. And I got at least 40 people out there that want to see me and my group. And she's gonna sit here and drink cognac and wait and go on stage when she get ready. I'm not having it. I went in her dressing room and we had a serious fight. And then the security guards tried to keep me away from her vision because they didn't want her to bring that shit up while she was on stage. Nina is a professional. She went on stage and I stood as a pillar right there in the beacon and she could see me. I was right next to the piano, but she ain't stupid. There's 2 shows and everybody here has been on stage. You all know the deal. There's a show backstage and there's a show on stage.
Well, you know what she did to me, bro. And she would cry when I would do poetry and beg me not to do certain poems. She would cry. She said, "Please, Amdi, don't do these poems."
Man. She got passion and love, man. And she's a Pisces with a Taurus moon.
She loved poets. She loved poets.
She has a Taurus moon, which means she's overwrought with passion. And Nina could feel that. And Andy Stroud, the guy she was married to, and understood that too. Because he was taking care of her business. And I said, man, I'm going to see you tomorrow at the show. And he says, I won't be at the show. I said, what do you mean? You handling all her business? She says, yes. She trusts me. But I said, you got something else to do? He said, I have nothing to do. I said, tomorrow is a big show, man. How you not going to be there? He says, you don't understand. If Nina and I are in the same place at the same time, it's going to be a physical fight.
With that, we're going to close out with that. Now, where can y'all go to get stories about Nina Simone from both coasts? You got Jim Brown stories, Bob Marley stories, Earth, Wind and Fire, Patti LaBelle, Jill Scott.
Yes. My wife sang with Nina Simone. She was also a Pisces and a very powerful Black woman. And I just give you that much of it. And some of you knew my wife.
Yes.
You know.
And I'm pretty certain that she didn't flip on Ia Fulani. That's just my thoughts on Ia Fulani. From knowing Ia Fulani. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
I'll just say a little bit of Nina Simone came to see our show. Felipe Kane and I were doing an off-Broadway show. She came to see our show, and after the show, she wanted to do Felipe's poem, Hey Now.
Hey Now.
And I was talking to Nina, and I said, Nina, you really can't do Hey Now. I mean, you could pick out something else to do. But Hey Now, you're calling the gangs together. You don't know nothing about the gangs. You really should. And so that's how she ended up doing Today is a Killer on her album. And she also did Are You Ready in the Harlem festival, the Summer of Soul is in the movie today. But so And I found Nina to be just a deeply spiritual person, and
Me
I
too.
just was moved. I was moved with love. I had uh, the the Sufi message of Hazrat Inayat Khan. I had about, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 volumes. I gave that to her as a gift
Wow.
because I just felt like I wanted to give her something that would uplift her spirit. But she's an example of what this society, the weight that it puts on all of us as
Yes.
artists. And
Right.
she is so sensitive that that weight got to her.
Right.
And that's the experiences with her being admitted
Yep. Well,
to
see,
You
know,
insane
find out how
asylum.
this industry makes
But
slaves.
what you say?
I
yeah,
just said you find out how this industry makes slaves. The most
Oh, yeah.
slave I ever met was Sammy Davis Jr.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Easy. He was a wind 'em up toy. I mean, and unfortunately, it was. I just thought it was a bad look. But he goes down in the little history book as Mr. Entertainer.
That's what he told me. I wrote a poem about him, and he sent for me when he read the poem, and I had called it Sammy. And he told me the only thing I hate about this poem, bro, he said, you caught my spirit, he said, but you called me Sammy. And I say, well, sir, that is your name, Sammy Davis. He said, no, my name is Mr. Entertainer. And I went back and wrote the poem, and Gabe brought it back to him. And that's another story if I tell you how I saw what a slave he was. Because I had already watched him over the years after Fallout on stage in Las Vegas before he got a vacation.
Oh,
So
no,
I
he,
kind of knew that story.
you know what one thing that endeared me
Let's
so
stop,
much.
y'all. I'm sorry,
You know
bro.
what one thing that endeared me to Sammy Davis when he did Mr. Bojangles, because I
Yeah,
think what you're saying about him, he
Mhm.
captured it in that song when he paid tribute to
Yeah.
Bojangles. He
that's
he
right.
he, he did
That's
it.
right,
He
bro.
did it from the heart, and this is what is betraying us all today. We're still betrayed by making it in the society, being getting paid from this society, when ultimately everybody needs to have capital to survive, but
Yeah.
somehow we have
one
to
thing I
be
was thinking
able
that,
to keep
each
alive.
one of us should do as we move forward, just for our own personal understanding. We all have met some very important movers and shakers on this planet, in different walks of life. People who have made an impact that will last forever. I think because we are poets, because we are artists who care and who've been cared for, I think we need to start chronicling some of these discussions, because I'm telling you all about my experience with Nina Simone. I've never written it down, and that's terrible, because if I'm not here to tell you, other people might not know it. I mean, you're telling me about Sammy Davis and your experience. We all have had experiences. Gene Carn, I didn't know about your experience with Earth, Wind, and Fire. And you go see an Earth, Wind, and Fire concert, everybody's got chairs, but you don't sit in those chairs. You use those chairs to stand on to see Earth, Wind, and Fire. I mean, I mean, come on. You can't sit down and go to Earth, Wind, and Fire and see them coming out the sky and pyramids and all that. That shit was crazy. It was special.
They were
And
amazing.
I didn't know that. But we had so many things that we talk about from our experience, and the stories that will give people an understanding of just how valuable life is, even regardless of the fact that you've got a gift to share. That's the role that we've been given. You have a gift that you must use to share with your people to try to help make them better than they were. In the
Could I say
process,
this about that also to you? We are a complete success in what we started out to do. The only thing we didn't do is make some money. But they're rapping all over the whole earth.
yeah,
That
absolutely.
comes from us. We are
But the only
complete success.
I'm
People
due.
think we might be a failure. We're not a failure at all. We are complete
Not,
success.
our mission was never money. If we had money, we would not have done the things we did that were
It's
great.
not too
Because money
it's
can
not too
tarnish
late to even
everything.
get the money. Listen, it's
No, the
not
money
too
is
late to
there.
get the money and it don't have to tarnish. It's there for
The,
us to
the,
take it. It's sitting in a
the
pile. All we
money,
gotta do is go and pick it up. But the
I
real thing is
agree.
this. We are here. We are energetic enough. We are elders. Like our brother Baba, uh, you're you and I are the same age, 83. Here's Jean. She don't have to tell her age because the sisters don't have to tell her age. But
'75.
we've been pioneers. We've been here, and there are those coming behind us. And I'm getting ready. I'm working with, and you know, I'm working with this young man who has transformed the old prison bus into a freedom bus. And we're going to be traveling. It's labeled Last Poet's 55th anniversary. And it's spoken word. He captured the name spokenwordbus.com. But we're going to be traveling around doing things for the 55th anniversary. Just keeping this idea out in front of the public. And I think what we said on this, we ought to do, and I'm committed to it 100%. I want to exchange numbers and so forth, but we need to find a way to get into a studio and get these same mature voices and do some things. Oh, and so I'm going to be on this Last Poets 55th anniversary prison bus franchise. I
You're
mean,
fading out,
it's
Baba
powerful
David.
transformation we've done. And first we did with we had the Gandhi family on the bus celebrating a family reunion. From they said they weren't not family, but they are
Right on.
celebrating with us. So
Well, good.
I would like to say a short poem about Malcolm to honor his death. About
Please
5
do.
lines. Life blends into death, and you, Malcolm, are a part of me. I ride on rough waves of your words. I emit sounds, mold, murder, spit, shape, create. Life blends into death, and you, Malcolm, are a part of me. I ride on rough waves of your words.
Right on.
So
Right
that's
on.
an
Thank you.
old poem that I did for Malcolm many years ago. Abi O'Doon has a fabulous Malcolm poem, and we'll do that another time. And I got a longer one called Big Red Malcolm X, Freedom Express. So
Right on.
so
Well, as we
just
close out,
we need to mention Malcolm because
right on.
this birthday we were born because we came to celebrate Malcolm on his birthday, and we
That's
can
right.
never let our legacy overshadow the reality of Big Red, the reality of El Hajj Malik, the reality as our brother said, our black and shining prince. So I think that's
As
my
we as we
contribution.
as we close out, we have one more last poet friend that's gonna help us close this program out. We got a couple minutes left, but I know that he was trying to get on for a while, and it looked like there was some difficulties. But we have Gregory Reed joining us right
Gregory
now.
Reed.
Greg, what
Greg,
you talking about, man?
we can't see you, but there you go. Now we got you.
See you.
Your mic, for some reason, we can't hear the sound, Greg.
Yeah, I
We
can't
can
hear
hear
you,
you.
Greg.
I
You
can
hear
hear
him,
you.
Abi O'Doon? I don't hear him.
No, he may be on mute.
Can you hear me, Greg?
Nah, something's wrong with his mic over there.
You
It's
can, you
not the
can,
mute
you can,
button.
Greg, we can't hear you.
I can
Yeah,
hear
we can't
you.
hear you at all.
Abi O'Doon, you can hear him. Well, tell him you're a translate for
Yeah.
I can hear him. I can hear him.
Okay.
Well,
I
turn
can't
up
hear
your
him.
sound. Now he muted himself. You got to unmute yourself. You got it on mute.
Yeah, he's having some tech difficulties.
You got it now? Speak. Oh, no. I tell you, boy, sometimes this generation just can't handle this technology, boy.
That's what it is. well,
listen. It's a divide. It's definitely a divide because I can get my grandkids coming in and probably straighten this whole thing out.
Totally. Do the whole program. Well, listen,
yeah,
it's
like
been an honor, a privilege, and a blessing to have you all on. I can't believe that you all telling me that we have two people 83 years old on here, you know, and sharp as attack, as they used to say, you know. And you know, like I said, we're grateful on behalf of our audience. You know, definitely appreciate you all hanging out with us, and we're looking forward to doing the 56th, the 60th, the 70th, the 85th last poet commemoration. You know, so stick around. We got work to do.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So
well,
love and appreciation to you all.
I'm hanging in there. I'm carrying my torch over at least another 70 years.
Yeah, you already said you ain't letting nobody get your torch. They tripping, huh?
Yeah. Hey, no, I light it. Come on, you want your torch lit? I'm lighting torches, but I ain't passing none.
No doubt.
I'm in the march. They're gonna have to pick my torch up off the ground if I happen to fall. But I'm going.
That's what I'm talking about. Ain't no dropping out. Anyway,
ain't no dropping out.
Let's get something done for real. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, we're gonna get something done.
All right.
Right on. And salute.
It's great to be with all you brothers, but I'm honored to meet Gene Carr. It's a great honor. Great pleasure.
It's good to see you again, Gene.
Right on. And shout out to all the poets who couldn't make it, to Felipe and Umar and all the others. Shout out to the folks who helped us to make this happen. Juanita, who's been gave me a couple gray hairs in putting this together. Definitely shout out to her. Shout out to my man Frank Edwards, who helped out on the promotions, Real Shutter. And salute to all of you for staying up with us and rocking with us. Make sure you share this because, again, this is it will be archived, but I think that we got some real cold music and history lessons today from these cultural icons. And I appreciate you all for inspiring us to continue the work that we've been doing. You know, it's plenty of your music has been the soundtrack to future generations, not just my generation. You know, so again, I thank you all and looking forward to you know, to rocking in the future.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, brother.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
No
Peace.
doubt.
Peace to all of you. See you soon.
You've been checking out RSTV live and direct right here on Black Power Media. We like to thank all of our guests, all of the artists that came through, and we hope that you enjoyed it as much as we did. Stay on the right side of history, and you know, stay focused. We're gonna win in spite of ourselves. Black Power Media. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, and all of that. And till next time, we out.
Be there for the official Last Poets 55th year anniversary celebration. Friday, May 19th, Malcolm X Day, 8 p.m. Eastern. The legendary wordsmiths, the Last Poets, will join Riot Starter TV host Kalonji Changa on Black Power Media as artists and activists worldwide show them their well-deserved love and respect. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime experience dedicated to these cultural icons. Tap in.